Hey everybody, Corey here. I am going to do the trades and holdings in this video for the single stock YieldMax ETFs. Just as a reminder, I just obtain the data, I make the spreadsheets for you and try to present all the facts that I can. That way you can make your own decisions on what to do. I am an amateur investor. I'm not a licensed anything and not a licensed investment advisor or financial advisor or anything. I just gather the data and I present it to you, okay? No, these are very, very risky. These are income and not growth stocks. Here's all the risk that they go into on in depth on their website. So please make sure you know what you're investing in before doing so. So since we are since we're going over the Friday stuff, the way we're going to do this is we're going to jump back and forth, which I feel like we've done most of the week here. Since Wednesday, they've been doing lots of trades, Wednesday, Thursday, and now Friday. So we are going to look at the trades, and then we'll go over to the holdings. And that's because on the holdings, we can see those that were added in the new ones, but we can't see the ones that were closed out. So we'll just go ahead and get started here with AIYY. Let me zoom in for you, for those on your phone. And actually, we can just make a few of these, smaller, just to make it a little better there. All right. Sorry, I didn't think to do this before. And some of these should be smaller. I don't know why they're not. Okay, there we go. So AIYY looks like they added to a couple of positions, but they closed out the short call. Obviously, that was going to expire on Friday with the 2150. At the end of when they closed, we were down 4%. So it looks like, yeah, they only paid 3 cents to close those out a share. You can see the overall trade amounts is 182,000. So I'm going to zoom in. I don't have this sheet set up. Here we go. I think I was looking at something. Okay, so here AIYY closed at $11.47 on Friday. AI closed at $20.72. You can see here where they added 5,000 contracts. So yeah, these two lines that show added were for the same strike price. Yeah, so 5,900 there. And then, so we have just that one short call for this week at $22, and we're currently under that strike price by 6%. And then we have our synthetic position here where we're underneath that by 6%, which is not a good thing, especially when it's, let me look at the calendar just to make sure. Yeah, it's not this coming Friday, but the next Friday. So we have 2 weeks, and this needs to come back up. So hopefully the market will start going back up because we just had a bad one on this one, and they had only moved the synthetic out a couple of weeks, or 3 weeks when they did it. We can see here by those being under the synthetic, it is costing the share price 62 cents. So if we can get up above it, then we can, or at least get to the thing, right, or a little bit above it, we can come up at 60 something cents there. As far as our synthetic or a short call for next week, we're negative 12 cents, but that's because of the time factor to next week. And then possible, again, I'm not sure about our column AC there. I need to, when the market starts coming up, see how these react. But currently, I make the example is expecting that it'll come up 67 cents on that short call before it maxes out. But we will see. And then we're going to move on to AMDY. Let's see if we had any closed positions there. So yes, so they, let's see, We had a 165 and a 172.50 strike price. Those short calls expired on Friday, and yeah, they rolled all of them to the next week, and they split them up 3,450 for each one there. And we have lower strike prices, so we went down to 155 and 157.50 there. They brought in over $1 million for that. So we can see over here, AMD closed almost $1 down. It's at 16.25. AMD closed at 146.64. And all of these, you saw the other one up there was 5.3. I believe all the rest of these synthetics are going to be 5.17, which is in 3 weeks, which is why our color has changed now. So these are going to get very important, and we really need the stock market to start going up. Because as you can see here, well, let's just look at our short calls. We have our short calls with the strike prices of 155 and 157.50. So we're underneath those 5 and 7% for this next week. You see we have our synthetic positions here. They have strike price of $200. We are currently underneath that strike price, negative 27%. So you see the 200 here, we're at 146. So we're under at 27%. Now, if we look over here in our in this column, we can see that, if we'd have closed this out on Friday, it would have cost, well, you'd have to add these two together, which is what this over here is, $36.3 million to close this out. And the way that reflects to the share price is $5.89. So that's why the share price is down so much over the past week. And then you can see the short calls, they're negative 7 and 5%, which cents. That's not bad. Now, in our column over here, as far as upside, our test upside formula, it looks like we could possibly come up a total of $1. If we move on to AMZ, let's check out our trades. AMZ here, they closed out a short call that expired on Friday with a strike price of 187.50. There's only 75 contracts left, and they paid a penny to close those out. They had already closed the rest of them out, and then they didn't use all the shares when they did, so they're using a 19 here. Now let's see if that's all of them or if they have any left. MZ... So these are our short calls. Yeah, so they've used all of theirs, all of it there. So AMZ closed at 22.08. Amazon closed at 174.63. Not sure why, but I was listening to the trade thing and heard it talking about being down. That's roughly $5. I don't know why, if it's just the overall market or what, but I had a spreadsheet issue at work on Friday, actually Thursday and Friday, and it was driving me nuts. But I figured it out. I know y'all don't care, but at the end of the day, I finally figured out my issue, and it took 2 days. It was killing me. But anyway, we see here, we have 2 new short calls that they did with the strike prices of 180 and 182.50. We already had the short call for 187.50. So we're underneath the strike prices. I'm sorry. The stock price is underneath the strike prices, 3, 4, and 7%. Now, again, going to our synthetic position here, we are negative 6%. It's not as bad as the other one above, right? AMD and negative 23, but just that 6% you can see is bringing the stock price down $1.22. I don't know why this other one is not red. Yeah, I don't know why. That's irritating me though, because they should all be formatted the same. Shoot, I forget. This is doesn't have formulas on it anymore. So I just need to fix my original. I do apologize. But I know if I don't mark this that I had something wrong with it. I won't remember to go back and fix it next time. All right, so I got off track there looking at my formatting issues. So our synthetic position is causing the stock price to come down $1.22. And then, of course, our synthetics are new. There are just a few cents there, but they have time next week. And if our test formula is accurate over there, is a possibility of coming up $1.17 there. All right. Let's go to our next one. So Aptly here. So it looks like we didn't have any closing trades. So we'll go over here to Aptly. Aptly closed at $16.17. We have Apple closed at 165. We have two new short calls here, as you can see. They have the 167.50 strike price and the 170 strike price. We already had the 172.50 strike price. You can see we're underneath the short call strike prices by 1, 3, and 4%. Our synthetic position, we're only underneath 3%, which is only bringing the stock price down 44 cents. So not as bad as the others. And then we can see possible upside if our formula is good there, 54 cents total for next week for the short calls. And then Coney did have some that closed out, so let's go look at those trades real quick. So Coney had closed out the short calls that they had left expiring on Friday there. They had strike prices of 270 and 260, so we were underneath them 20-something%. So you can see they only paid 1 cent or 2 cents to close those out. And so we go over to our holdings here. We can see that Coney closed at 22.71. Coin closed at 211.01. You see our two new short calls there, bringing in lots of moolah. And those are 232.50 and 235 strike prices, and underneath those 9 and 10%. And then we have the short call here that we had already had at 255 strike price at 17%. And then we have our synthetic at 260, and we're underneath that by 19%. So you can see that's bringing the stock price down $5.13. And then if we look at possible upside for the short calls, if our formula is accurate, it looks like we could come up $2.25 based on the short calls. And then, of course, you see, that we can come up also based on the synthetic position as well. If we can just go up, right? And let's look at what we got next. Yeah, Dizzo. We have a lot of them. So they had their strike prices of 115, 116, 117, and 118. So they had to close all of those out. And we were underneath the strike prices by 2, 3, and 4, or 2, 3, 4, and 5%. So you can see over here they closed them out at 1 or 2 cents a piece. And then they rolled all of those to next week at the 114 strike price. So let's move on over here to Dizzo. Dizzo closed at 2024. Disney closed at 112.61. So it looks like Dizzo went down 1 cent while Disney went up a few cents. You can see the new short call there. And it expires next Friday, 114. We're only underneath that 1%. So it looks like $1.39. And then we have our synthetic position of strike price of 120. And since we're under at 6%, it's bringing the stock price down $1.24. And you can see right now that the short call there is bringing... All right, I apologize. I did pause the video and made some adjustments, but I decided that I don't know how comfortable I feel with the estimates on column AC. So I think I'm going to keep that to myself for a little bit, watch it, and see if it's possibly accurate or not. In the meantime, we're just going to look at how much... on the right hand side in column AB, it's bringing the stock down. So in this case, we see that the synthetic position is bringing the stock price down $1.24. So we know if the Disney stock price could start going up, then this dollar amount will start going up. And, if it gets above 120, then, it could start going to the positive as our, time starts running out. And then for our short call, we should see a 15, if we can get up close to that 114, right? Then we should be able to see, like, I would say, based on this saying it's down 16 cents, hopefully we can gain 15 cents a share there. But yeah, I'm not sure here. We will watch this because, again, this column is new. Obviously, if we get above the strike price of 114, this is going to go bigger, negative, right? Because now we'd have to pay to close it out. But anyway, sorry, I got sidetracked, and I've probably been over here messing on the computer for 30 minutes. But let's move on to Phoebe. So we don't have any trades there for Phoebe, but we do have to come back for GUI. So Phoebe here closed at 20.98, so it was down significantly. Meta closed at 481.07. We can see for our short call that we have, it expires next Friday with a strike price of $5.50, and we're currently 13% below that. But we do have two synthetic positions, and we're underneath both of those strike prices, $5.15 and $5.25, by 7 and 8%. So if we look over here on the side, now that top one is 7%. It's only bringing the stock down 10 cents because it's only 95 shares. The other one, it is the larger dollar amount. So, it's 8%. The stock price is 8% below this, has the majority of the synthetic positions with the contracts of 1,185. So that's why it's bringing that down $1.66 a share, because if we had to close these synthetics out, it would cost $5.3 million on Friday. And then we have the short call down here that's bringing this down right now, 16 cents. Of course, we have a week, all next week to hopefully the goal for these is always to get to the end and only have to pay 1 cent to close these out. And then we saw we had GUI shares, so let's just, or trades, let's go over that real quick. GUI. So the top three lines is where they added 40 contracts to the synthetic and created a new short call for a 160 strike price, which we're currently 4% under. And then they closed out these short call positions that expired on Friday with the strike prices of 157.50 and 160. And you can see they paid 2 cents to close those out. And then they rolled the total of those two to the strike price of 162.50 for next week. So if we go over here and we look, we can see GUI closed at 17.20. Alphabet closed at 154.09. You can see here those added 40 contracts to the synthetic and the new short call, and then the other new short call with the majority of the contracts there. So those two short calls, 160, 162.50, were underneath those by 4 and 5%. And then for our synthetics, we're above these by 3%. So we're in the middle there, which is where we want to be. And then we can see, sorry about that, we can see here that for our synthetic, we're actually in the positive, 53 cents a share. And then, of course, we have our short calls here, negative 19 cent total, but that's because we have a week out. We're a week out from those. So let's look. So JPMO. So this is the one I was looking at while I was on pause, because they had these. They closed out all their short calls here for this past week, the 180, 182.50, and the 185 strike price. They all expired on Friday, so they had closed them, but they were actually above them. They might not have been above the 185 when they closed it, but you can see all the prices. Then they rolled, which there wasn't many of them, but 90 to the 185 strike price for next week, which, as you can see here, we closed at 185.80. So if we go over here and look at JPMO, and I went over this in the daily roundup, or briefly, if you watched it, but our strike price, today we're at 185.80 for JPM, and you can see we're above all of our short calls there. But just a note that I didn't mention, JPMO closed at 1991. But the stock ended up coming up, what's that, $4 and something there, $4.50. And so we have three short calls here with the strike prices of 180, 182.50, and 185. We're at 185.80. So we are over the strike price by 3 and 2% for those two, and the other one it's 80 cents. But we're getting up closer to the synthetic position. If we scroll over to see what our effect is per the share price here, the stock price is down $1.45 due to the synthetic here, and 10, 20, 30, 42, 44 cents negative for all of our short calls that expire this next week. So overall, it looks like we're down $1.89 here for all of these. But let's move on to Murney. It doesn't look like there's trades based on this, but let's just make sure. Yep, no, there is trades. And it looks like this is something that I changed after the fact, so it may not have picked it up on the other side. Because I can tell that it says have a few title caps there. But they close out all the synthetic positions with the strike price of 107, 108, and 109. And you can see that over there. They close them out at 1 or 2. And then we have the new short call that will expire in a couple of weeks. 108 strike price, and we're underneath that by 6%. They rolled all of those contracts to that, and they received the premium there. So you can see that here. Since clearly I changed the data. Oh, I see. I did not change it here. This should say short call. That's why it did not come up over here in the formula, because it didn't match. So actually what I need to do, give me a second here. We need to copy this because these have formulas, and when I change this, it's going to change the formulas over there. I don't know why I didn't just copy. There we go. So it fixes formulas on the left-hand side, or it would update those. I'm not going to worry about copying these over, but you already saw there that that was our new short call. Sorry, I didn't catch that. I did do these yesterday. But Murney closed at 1984. Moderna closed at 101.41. So those are slightly down. We have our two short calls here. We have one that's going to expire this week, which only has 50 contracts. But it's the $106 strike price. Then, for some reason, I'm not sure why, they went out 2 weeks for the 108 strike price. And we're currently, and then this is red only because this did say synthetic, so I apologize. This should just be 6. Well, 6.1, I guess. Technically, we just don't ever see those. So that would be a positive because we are underneath that short call. So if we scroll over to the right, we can see here that by the synthetic being underneath the stock price being underneath the strike price. Oh my goodness. By the synthetic strike price being 110 and the stock price being 101, which is 8% under the strike price, it's affecting the stock by the Murney stock by $1.59 a share. So you can see if we had to close it out on the left hand side, it would cost, if you're looking here, $2.1 million to close that out, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're looking at, our net assets here, it's significant. So, and then of course this isn't here because the formulas, but it's okay. It'll be there next time. It's not too big a deal anyway when it comes to those short calls. The biggest deal is really for that synthetic position. Let's see what we have for trades for MSFO. All right, so we just have new ones there, and then we have Misty. So MSFO here, you can see it closed at 2102. Microsoft closed at 399.12. They added 25 contracts to the synthetic and created a new short call there with the strike price of 415. We also have another short call here at 432.50, and both of these expire next week, and we're currently 4 and 8% underneath those strike prices. As far as the synthetic goes here, the strike price is $425, so we're underneath that 6% or $26 there. And being that far under is causing the stock to be down, the MSFO stock to be down $1.31. You can see our short calls over here. Those aren't having a big effect on it. And then you saw we had lots of Misty because they had a closeout of all of those positions that they had. So one, it looks like somebody or people are selling out of it because the top 3, they had to close 5 of the synthetic and short call positions. So they closed 5 contracts. And then when we look at the rest of those there, those next 4 closed lines, those are the short calls that expired on Friday. And you can see that the strike prices were $12.90, $15.05, $16.35, and $16.70. We were underneath all of those significantly, and I don't even know if Misty ever got up to $12.90, but they ended up paying $2.50 to still close that one out anyway. And then you have 10, 5, and 2 cents. Of course, the one with the largest contracts, we only had to pay 2 cents to close out. Of course, the one with the almost the smallest amount, 28 contracts, cost us the most because they paid $2.50 there. But they ended up, let's add these together, 660. Yeah, they ended up rolling all of those to one strike price for next week of $1,395, where they brought in premium of $2.1 million there. So let's go over and let's look at our holdings. So Misty closed at $29.62, while MicroStrategy closed at $11.74.11. So this right here is just showing where they closed out 5 of the contracts, and then the new 660 contracts for the short call with the strike price of $13.95. And then we also already had the short call with a strike price of $1,400. So they're just $5 difference. So we're underneath the strike price by 16% here. And then, of course, our synthetic there, we're up above those 2%. So that's looking good. So you can see by being above it 2%, This is very rare right now. It's bringing the stock price up 68 cents. And then this one right here shows 49 cents, but we have a week to go for this one before it expires. Let's look at our other trades. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to do that. Trades after Misty. That's going to take a minute. According to this, there aren't any. Let's check and see if it loaded. We'll go ahead and read through this so we don't waste time waiting on it to reload. I apologize for going out of that. So Nestle here closed at $16.79, down over $1. Netflix itself closed at $555.04. So it looks like it dropped, what, $55? So yeah, our short call has a strike price of $6.55. We're currently underneath that 15%, so that's good. But our synthetic positions, the strike price is $6.35, and we're underneath those by 13%. So if we look over here on the side, those synthetics are bringing the Nestle share price down by $2.28. Let's just check over here. Yep, no Nestle trades, but we do have NVD trades. So let's go ahead and look at those. So our top three lines, they bought in 120 contracts, so they added to this synthetic position and created a new short call at a strike price of $850, which we were underneath that by 10% at close. And then they closed out the short calls on these next three lines. They closed out the short calls for those two lines. It expired on Friday with the strike prices of $900, $920. We were underneath those by 15 and 17% at the end of the day. Since the stock, did drop 10% on Friday. They paid 1 cent to close those out. And then you have the new short call. Let's see. Yeah, they rode the total amount of those new ones to an $840 strike price, in which we were 9% underneath that as of close on Friday. So in all, they brought in $5.5 million there. Dang it. I do apologize. All right, so we won't have to look at that one, and we'll come back for PayPay. So come on. Check. And then we need to go to the holdings. All right. So NVIDIA, it closed down $2.50 at $23.38. NVIDIA closed down, and it closed at $762. I don't know. I don't know where I was on Friday. But you can see here where they added the 120 contracts to the synthetic, and where they have the new 2 short call, the 120 contracts and the 4,850 there. So our 2 short calls that it will expire on Friday is now 840 and 850, and we're underneath those by 9 and 10%. Our synthetic position, we can see we're underneath that by 17%. It has the strike price of $9.15. And you can see on the right-hand side that synthetic position is bringing the stock price down $4.55. As you can see, if we had to close out the synthetic position on Friday, it would have cost $74.6 million. So yeah, $4.50 of the NVIDIA stock price. So that is significant there. If we look at OARC here, I'm not sure why there's a line in between there, but OARC closed at 11.18, while ARC closed at 42. We have a new short call there with a strike price of $44. And then we have another short call of $45. And we are currently 5 and 7% below those strike prices, and they both expire on Friday. Then we have the synthetic position there. We're currently under by 16%, and that is bringing the stock price down $2.05. If we had to close these synthetics out on Friday, it would have cost $12.1 million there. And then for PayPay, I can't remember if it showed it closing something out. Yeah, it did. So it is short call that expired on Friday at the $64 strike price. So they paid $2 cents a piece to close those out, and they rode those to next week with the expiration date of Friday. It looks like we don't have to come back for any more trades there. So if we look here at PayPay, it closed at $18.31, which is the same price as the day before. PayPal closed at $62.31. It actually went up 21 cents. We can see here the new 75 contracts that was purchased. This is a new short call with a strike price of 64. Those were the ones that were rolled. And then we already have the short call with a strike price of $65, and we're currently underneath those 3 and 4%, and these do expire next Friday. And then we have our synthetic positions here that expire in 3 weeks with the strike price of $65. It's currently bringing the stock down 71 cents. And then we will move on to SQUE. SQUE closed at $21.45. Block closed at $70.42. You can see we have a new short call here with 1,940 contracts. The strike price is $74. And there's also another short call with a strike price of $75, and we're currently 5 and 6% below those. And they both expire on Friday. Then we have the synthetic position with a strike price of $80. We're currently 12% below that strike price, and it's bringing the stock down $2.79. And then we go down to Tesla here. Oh my goodness. Tesla is down to $13.34. Tesla's down to $147.05. They have their new short call with their 20,555 contracts with a strike price of $162.50. There's also the short call with a strike price of $175, which were under 10 and 16%. They both expire on Friday. And then we have 2 synthetic positions here. Strike prices of $170 and $175. We're underneath those by 14 and 16% there. As you can see on the left-hand side, if we had to close out the synthetic positions, it would cost over $106 million. You can see it there. There's the 2 short calls. So the one is negative 52 cents a share, and the other one's cost $1.80 a share. So that's bringing the Tesla stock price down $2.32. Then, of course, you see the short call. It's not much there, 3 or 9 cents a share. So these synthetic positions are really bringing these stocks down, and we all need to, those that are invested in this, hope that these stocks come up over the next couple of weeks. And then we go down to Zomo, which closed at $18.35. Exxon closed at $119.88. 2 short calls here. Strike prices $121 and $122. We're underneath those 1 and 2%. Then we have the synthetic positions with a strike price of $120. We're underneath that by 12 cents. And it looks like it's only costing us 5 cents a share for that. It looks like the short calls They're actually bringing it down more than the synthetic. They're bringing them down 17 cents a share. So this one's doing okay. So then we have YMAG here, stock price 18.78. So it did drop significantly with the rest. And then YMAX here is at 19.38. And then that's looks, I did not look. No, they still have not added Misty to YMAX yet. But all right, I know this is a long one. We had lots of trades and lots of things to look at. Hopefully you were able to find the ETF you were looking for and that you like the information. But anyway, I'll let y'all go because I already know this is longer because it's a Friday video. But y'all have a great rest of the weekend. Bye.